The first time I realized my mother-in-law was actively trying to destroy my soul, I was holding a $400 bottle of Bordeaux and pretending not to notice her critiquing my posture to the household staff. That's the thing about marrying into old money. They weaponize etiquette like it's an Olympic sport. I'm Cynthia, and for the past 5 years, I've been the decorative wife at Risegate Manor, a sprawling estate that screams new money trying desperately to look old. My husband Ishmael's family, the Ellis Harrisons, are what you'd get if you combined the worst parts of Succession with the Real Housewives. Darling, do try to hold the wine at a 45-degree angle when you pour. Rosalie's voice cut through the dining room like a diamond through glass. Though, I suppose they didn't teach that in... Where did you say you went to school again? I smiled, the same practice smile I'd perfected over countless Sunday dinners. Community college, Rosalie, right before I met Ishmael. Ah, yes, she sighed, adjusting her pearls. How quaint. Across the mahogany table that probably cost more than my parents' house, my father-in-law Charles chuckled into his whiskey. Speaking of education, I just moved another 50 million offshore. The trick, my dear, is making sure everyone smiles and signs in the right places. The auditors never look twice if you're charming enough. Ishmael shifted uncomfortably beside me, but said nothing. He never did. More wine, anyone? I offered, making my rounds. As I passed Charles's study, the door slightly ajar, a familiar name caught my eye on an open binder. Global Vertex Holdings. I'd just studied a case about that shell corporation in my advanced accounting class last week. Cynthia? Rosalie's sharp tone snapped me back. The wine? Coming right up, I replied, filing away what I'd seen. They never bothered to hide anything from me. Why would they? I was just the pretty little wife from the wrong side of the tracks who couldn't possibly understand their sophisticated world of high finance. Tell them about the new yacht, Charles, Damon, my brother-in-law, called out. The one through the Singapore account. All in good time, Charles winked. Though speaking of acquisitions, Cynthia, I heard you've been taking some online classes. A little hobby to keep you occupied? I set down the wine bottle carefully. Actually, I just completed my degree, finance and forensic accounting. The silence that followed was delicious. Rosalie's fork clattered against her plate. How interesting, she managed, her smile as artificial as her highlights. Though surely you don't plan to actually use it. A woman in your position has no need for such things. Of course not, I lied smoothly, just keeping my mind sharp. That's our Cynthia, Charles laughed, raising his glass. Always full of surprises. Though between us, sweetheart, the real education happens in rooms like this, not through some online program. Later that night, as the staff cleared the dishes and Ishmael disappeared into his study, I lingered near Charles's office. The binder was still there, and now I could see more clearly. A list of offshore accounts, wire transfers, and what looked suspiciously like duplicate books. Looking for something. Natasha, Damon's wife, appeared behind me. I turned, heart racing, just admiring the new artwork. She studied me for a long moment, then glanced at the open binder. Be careful what you go looking for in this house, she said quietly. Some things, once you see them, you can't unsee. I nodded, but my mind was already racing. 5 years of condescension, of being treated like an ornament, of watching them move money through shadows while mocking my education. It all crystallized into perfect clarity. Don't worry, I said, smiling my Sunday dinner smile. I know exactly what I'm doing. As I walked away, I heard Charles in his study. Phone on speaker. Yes, run it through the usual channels. No one looks too closely at family trusts. It's all about appearances after all. I touched the lanyard hidden under my blazer, the one holding my newly minted degree. They thought they were teaching me about their world of wealth and privilege. Instead, they'd taught me exactly how to tear it down. 3 weeks after that dinner, I started finding the breadcrumbs. They weren't exactly subtle. When you've spent years being invisible, you learn to see everything. First came the email from an anonymous account. Check the Q3 reports for Ellis Holdings. Focus on the property valuations. RF. I knew it had to be Riley, the intern who'd quit suddenly last month, the one Damon had called too curious for her own good at breakfast. The numbers didn't lie. Properties bought for millions, revalued at triple their worth overnight, used as collateral for massive loans. Classic appraisal fraud, right out of my textbook. "You're up late again," Ishmael said, appearing in the doorway of our bedroom suite. I quickly switched tabs to Pinterest. "Just looking at interior design ideas," I said. "Your mother mentioned the living room could use updating." He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous tell I'd noticed years ago. "About that, could you maybe try being more supportive at family gatherings? Mother mentioned you seemed distracted lately." "Supportive?" I echoed, thinking of the offshore accounts I'd discovered that afternoon. "Like smiling and nodding while your father brags about tax evasion." "Don't be dramatic," he snapped. "You're acting like some kind of detective. This isn't one of your online homework assignments." The next morning, a thick manila envelope arrived at my private P.O. box. Inside were copies of audit letters with different signatures but suspiciously similar handwriting, along with compliance certificates dated before the inspections they certified. I took photos of everything before securing the documents in a safety deposit box downtown. That afternoon, I called my old college friend Yael. "These numbers are definitely hinky," she said, over coffee at a cafe far from my usual haunts. "The trading patterns alone. Look at these timestamps. They're backdating trades to dodge reporting requirements." "How bad are we talking?" She lowered her voice. "Bad enough that if you're right, this isn't just rich people being sketchy, this is federal investigation territory." My phone buzzed. A text from Rosalie. "Dinner tonight. Wear something appropriate. The Singapore investors are visiting." At dinner, I watched Charles work his magic. He was explaining their innovative investment strategy to men in expensive suits, while Rosalie kept the wives occupied with talk of charity galas. "Cynthia, darling," she called across the table, "do tell everyone about your little online studies. It's so important to have hobbies." I smiled, noting how Damon suddenly became very interested in his phone. "Actually, I'd love to hear more about the Singapore property portfolio. The appreciation rates are remarkable." The silence lasted 2 seconds too long before Charles laughed. "My dear, leave the boring business talk to us. More wine?" Later that night, as I was leaving the powder room, Natasha grabbed my arm and pulled me into the library. "Something's wrong with the books," she whispered. "I heard Charles on the phone yesterday, paying someone to doctor the audit reports." "Why are you telling me this?" She glanced at the door. "Because you're the only one actually looking. And because—" She hesitated. "Because I have 2 kids, and I need to know if this house of cards is about to fall." A week later, a small package arrived at my P.O. box. Inside was a flash drive and a note. "Evidence of everything. Be careful who you trust. RF." I plugged it into my secure laptop that night. Pages of forged documents, fake invoices, and email threads about cleaning the books scrolled past. My hands shook as I copied everything to an encrypted drive. My phone lit up with a text from Ishmael. "Where are you? Mother's asking why you missed yoga with her this morning." I was about to respond when another message appeared, this one from an unknown number. "Ms. Ellis, this is Philip Warner. We should talk about your family's financial activities. Secure line only." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. This was it, the moment where everything could either unravel or finally come together. The flash drive glowed quietly on my desk, holding enough evidence to destroy the empire my in-laws had built on lies. The question wasn't whether I would use it, but how. My phone buzzed again. Rosalie. Darling, don't forget. The anniversary party planning meeting tomorrow. Do try to contribute something useful this time. I smiled at the screen. Oh, I'd contribute something all right. Something none of them would ever forget. The night I decided to become a forensic accountant, I was scrubbing champagne stains out of Rosalie's imported silk tablecloth. She'd, accidentally, spilled her drink after I'd dared to correct her about interest rates at dinner. Such a shame, she'd simpered. But perhaps you could make yourself useful and clean that up. The staff has gone home. That night, I applied for my first online class. For 3 years, I studied while they slept. Every patronizing comment became fuel for another all-nighter. Every dismissive laugh pushed me through another exam. I worked as a virtual assistant during their charity galas, earning tuition money while they drank $1,000 wines. Remember when you got that cute little diploma? Charles's voice pulled me back to the present. We were in his study for the anniversary party planning meeting. What was it, 6 months ago? 7, I corrected, watching him shuffle papers on his desk. Just before the Singapore deal. His hand paused briefly. Ah, yes. Speaking of which, he pulled out his phone. Excuse me, urgent call. I pretended to focus on the party plans while straining to hear his conversation. No, run it through the Cayman account first. Yes, the one under my daughter-in-law's name. She has no idea, that's the point. My blood ran cold. They'd put accounts in my name. Cynthia? Rosalie swept in. Why are you still here? The meeting ended 10 minutes ago. Sorry, just finalizing the seating chart. I gathered my things, mind racing. They hadn't just underestimated me, they'd tried to make me their patsy. That night, I met Yael at a dive bar across town. They're using your name? She whistled low. That's not just fraud anymore. That's identity theft. Can you help me trace it? She glanced around before sliding a business card across the table. This is Philip Warner. He's been watching the Ellis Holdings transactions for months. Call him from a secure line. I tucked the card away as my phone buzzed. A text from Natasha. Need to talk. Garden, midnight. The Ellis Harrison Garden at midnight was something out of a Gothic novel. Natasha was waiting by the rose trellises, clutching a leather portfolio. I took these from Damon's office, she whispered, hands shaking. Bank statements, transfer records. I think they're planning something big for after the anniversary party. Why are you helping me? She looked away. Because last week, I found out they put accounts in my children's names too. My babies, Cynthia, used as shields for their dirty money. I flipped through the documents, each page worse than the last. Does Damon know you took these? No, but he'll notice soon. I made copies of everything. My phone lit up. Ishmael calling. I declined it. He suspects something, I told Natasha. He keeps asking about my detective work. Damon, too! Last night he said I was asking too many questions about the offshore accounts. She hugged herself. What do? We build a case, quietly, and when the time comes... I paused as footsteps crunched on gravel nearby. Ladies? Rosalie's voice carried across the garden. What a strange time for a chat. We stepped apart casually. Just getting wedding anniversary inspiration, I called back. The moonlight makes everything more romantic. Indeed. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Though, do be careful in the dark. It's easy to... stumble. After she left, Natasha gripped my arm. She knows something's off. She always knows. Let her suspect, I said, thinking of the flash drive and documents safely stored away. They've spent years thinking we're too stupid to understand their games. That's their weakness. Later that night, as I reviewed the copied documents, Ishmael came home late from the office. "You missed dinner with Mother," he said, loosening his tie. "She's worried about you." "Worried about me? Or worried about what I might know?" He froze. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, dear." I smiled, closing my laptop. "Just thinking out loud about my little hobby." After he fell asleep, I sent an encrypted email to Philip Warner. "Found evidence of identity theft and fraudulent accounts. Meeting needed." His response came quickly. "Tomorrow, 3 p.m., public location only." I glanced at my sleeping husband, remembering how we met. Before I knew what his family really was, before I understood that their wealth was built on quicksand. Part of me still loved him, but not enough to drown with them. My phone buzzed one last time. "Natasha. Damon noticed the missing files. Be careful tomorrow." The game was changing. I just hoped I'd studied the rules well enough to win. "We have a surprise for you both," Charles announced over breakfast, sliding an envelope across the marble counter. "Consider it an early anniversary gift." Inside was a bank statement showing a wire transfer of $1 million, our dream house down payment, as Rosalie called it. "It's from our Luxembourg subsidiary," Charles explained, beaming. "Completely clean, of course. Just a little family generosity." I felt Ishmael tense beside me. He knew. He had to know. "That's incredibly generous," I managed, noting the routing numbers that matched ones from Riley's flash drive. "Only the best for family," Rosalie trilled, watching me like a hawk. "Though we do hope you'll choose a property in our neighborhood. Those downtown lofts you've been looking at are so urban." Later that afternoon, I confronted Ishmael in his home office. "Did you know about the Luxembourg account?" "What about it?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "The same account that's been flagged for suspicious transfers 3 times this year? The one your father uses to wash money through shell companies?" "You're being paranoid," he snapped, finally looking up. "This is what wealthy families do, Cynthia. There are perfectly legal ways to manage international assets." "Legal like the Cayman accounts in my name that I never opened?" His face went pale. "Who have you been talking to?" "Does it matter? Your family is using me as a shield for their fraud, and you're okay with it?" "You don't understand how things work at this level," he said, running his hands through his hair again. "Sometimes protecting wealth requires creative solutions." "Creative solutions?" I laughed bitterly. "Is that what we're calling federal crimes now?" My phone buzzed. Yael calling. I ignored it. "Just drop it," Ishmael pleaded. "Please, for both our sakes." That evening, I met Yael at our usual cafe. "You can't accept that money," she warned. "The feds are closing in. Taking it makes you complicit." "I know." I showed her the transfer documents, but refusing it would tip them off. "Warner wants to meet again. He says they're building a case, but they need more evidence of intent." My phone lit up with a text from Natasha. "Damon's furious about the missing files. Charles called an emergency board meeting." I was about to respond when another message arrived. From Ishmael. "I'm sorry about earlier. You're right. We need to talk." Attached was a photo of a handwritten note. "I know things aren't right. Give me time to fix this. I love you." "Don't let him manipulate you," Yael warned, reading over my shoulder. "Men like that always choose family money over doing the right thing." That night I couldn't sleep. The $1 million sat in our joint account like a ticking bomb. Ishmael's note burned in my pocket. Part of me wanted to believe him, wanted to think he'd choose me over them. My laptop pinged with an encrypted email from Warner. "Found the Cayman connection. Multiple accounts under your name. Meeting tomorrow is crucial." I was about to shut down the computer when a message popped up from an anonymous account. Check the transfer dates against the Singapore property sales. They don't match. RF. Riley was right. The dates were off by weeks, proving the sales were backdated. Another piece of evidence for Warner. My phone buzzed again. Natasha. They know someone's been digging. Damon mentioned hiring private investigators. I got up and went to the window, watching security guards patrol the manicured grounds of Risegate Manor. The estate felt less like a home and more like a gilded prison with each passing day. Ishmael stirred in bed. Come back to sleep. In a minute. What are you looking at? Just thinking about where to build our dream house, I lied smoothly. He was quiet for a moment. Mother mentioned a property near them. We could be close to family. Close to family. Close to their watchful eyes. Close to their web of lies. Perfect, I said, thinking of the evidence mounting in my safety deposit box. Though we should probably wait until after the anniversary party to decide. Of course, he murmured, drifting back to sleep. After the party, I touched the window's cold glass, watching my reflection overlap with the garden's shadows. In 2 weeks, the anniversary party would change everything. The question was, who would be left standing when it was over? My phone lit up one final time. Warner. Got the warrant. Be ready. I deleted the message and crawled back into bed, listening to Ishmael's steady breathing. He had no idea that his perfect world was about to shatter, and that his overlooked wife would be the one holding the hammer. Finding my name on those Cayman accounts changed everything. I wasn't just investigating anymore. I was fighting for survival. They've set you up as the fool guy, Warner explained during our meeting at a crowded food court. If this goes south, your signature is on everything, but I never signed anything. He slid several documents across the table. According to these, you did. Pretty good forgeries, too. My hands shook as I examined the perfect replicas of my signature. How long have they been doing this? Based on our investigation. Years. Your marriage was probably no accident. That night, I met Natasha in the garden again. She looked terrified. I found these in Damon's safe, she whispered, passing me a USB drive. It's worse than we thought. They're planning to liquidate everything after the anniversary party, move it all offshore. Through the accounts in my name? She nodded. And my children's. They've been building this exit strategy for months. A twig snapped nearby. We both froze. Just a rabbit, Natasha breathed, but her hands were shaking. Damon's been watching me. He knows something's missing from his files. We need to move faster, I said, pocketing the drive. Warner's team is ready, but they need more proof of intent. What about Ishmael's note? Does he really want to help? I thought about my husband's conflicted face, his quiet apologies, his inability to stand up to his family. I can't take that chance. Back in my study, I compiled everything. Riley's documents, Natasha's files, the forged signatures, the backdated sales records. It took hours to organize it all into a coherent report. My phone buzzed. Ishmael. Where are you? Mother's looking for you. Then another message from Natasha. They know. Damon found the copies missing. My heart stopped. I quickly encrypted the files and sent them through Yael's secure server to Warner. Then I deleted everything and headed downstairs. Rosalie was waiting in the living room, perfectly poised as always. Darling, we simply must discuss the party seating arrangements. Of course, I smiled, noting how her eyes tracked my movements. I do hope you're feeling settled here, she continued. Charles mentioned you might be concerned about some of our business practices. Not at all. I leave all that to the experts. Wise girl. Her smile was razor-sharp. Family loyalty is so important, don't you think? Before I could respond, Damon burst in, his face red. Someone's been in my office. Files are missing. Rosalie's eyes never left my face. How interesting. Cynthia, you wouldn't know anything about that, would you? Me? I laughed, channeling years of practiced innocence. I can barely understand your basic accounting, let alone anything important. Of course not, she purred, though you have been asking such specific questions lately. My phone buzzed again. Warner. Files received. Don't leave the house. Keep acting normal. I should check on dinner, I said, standing carefully. Ishmael will be home soon. Yes, do take care of my son, Rosalie called after me. He's been so distracted lately, worried even. In the kitchen, I found Natasha waiting. They're calling an emergency board meeting, she whispered. Tomorrow morning. Damon's furious about the missing documents. Did they trace them to you? Not yet, but they will. She gripped my arm. What do we do? Act normal. The feds have everything they need now. We just have to make it through the party. And if we don't? I thought about the forged signatures, the accounts in my name, the perfect trap they'd built. Then we go down fighting. Later that night, Ishmael found me in our bedroom. You've been distant, he said softly. If something's bothering you. Just stressed about the party, I lied, watching his reflection in the mirror. Your mother has such high standards. He came up behind me, placing his hands on my shoulders. I meant what I wrote, about fixing things. Did you know, I asked, meeting his eyes in the mirror, about the accounts in my name? His hands tightened slightly. Cynthia? Never mind, I said, pulling away. Some questions are better left unanswered. My phone lit up one last time. Warner, surveillance in place. Keep your head down. 72 hours max. I deleted the message and turned to my husband, wearing the mask I'd perfected over 5 years of Sunday dinners. Let's get some sleep. Big party to plan tomorrow. He nodded, relief evident in his face. He thought he'd dodged the question, that I'd let it go, like always. If he only knew what was coming. Darling, you simply must help with the final arrangements, Rosalie cooed, her voice dripping honey over arsenic. You have such a unique perspective on things. I'd been summoned to the morning room, where she sat surrounded by party plans and fresh-cut roses. The invitation felt like walking into a spider's web. I'd love to help, I said, accepting a cup of tea. Though I'm sure your taste is far superior to mine. Nonsense. In fact, I'd like you to handle the seating arrangements personally. She slid a guest list across the table. Do keep the Singapore investors near Charles. They're finalizing some rather important paperwork that evening. My hand trembled slightly as I took the list. The same investors from the fraudulent property deals. Of course, I smiled, touching the wire beneath my blazer. Warner's team had insisted on recording everything now. Perfect, Rosalie beamed. Oh, and Charles would like a word in his study. Something about those accounts you were asking about. My heart stopped. I should check on the caterers first. Now, dear, he insists. Charles was waiting behind his massive desk, nursing a scotch despite the early hour. Ah, Cynthia. Just the person I wanted to see. Rosalie mentioned something about accounts. He gestured to a chair. Yes. Well, given your academic interests, I thought you might appreciate understanding how we manage our international holdings. I wouldn't want to bore you with basic questions. Nonsense! He leaned forward, alcohol heavy on his breath. For instance, that million we gifted you, completely untraceable, routed through 6 different shells before landing in Luxembourg. The SEC couldn't follow it with a map and a flashlight. The wire itched against my skin as I forced a laugh. How clever. Indeed. And the best part? He winked. If anyone ever asks, it's all under your name. Perfect protection for the family assets. My phone buzzed. Natasha. Damon's on the warpath, shredding documents in his office. Speaking of family, Charles continued, we've noticed you've been quite curious lately, asking questions, making copies. I kept my face neutral. Just trying to learn the family business. Of course. He stood, walking to the window, though some might say you've learned a bit too much. Before I could respond, Ishmael appeared in the doorway. Father? The board members are calling. Ah, duty calls. Charles clapped his hands. We'll finish this chat later, dear. In the hallway, Ishmael grabbed my arm. What were you doing in there? Learning about our gift, I said coolly. Your father's quite proud of his financial acrobatics. Cynthia, please. His voice dropped. Whatever you think you know, I know enough. I pulled away. The question is, what are you going to do about it? He stood there, mouth opening and closing, but no words came out. As always, that evening, I met Warner in a parking garage across town. The recordings are solid, he confirmed. Charles practically confessed to the whole scheme, but we need more. The party's tomorrow night. He nodded. We'll be ready. Just keep them talking. And Cynthia? He caught my arm. Be careful. People like this get dangerous when cornered. Back at the manor, final preparations were underway. Lights being strung, flowers arranged, champagne chilling. A perfect facade for the perfect crime family. There you are, Rosalie appeared, holding a garment bag. I took the liberty of choosing your dress for tomorrow. Something appropriate. The dress was blood red. A warning. It's beautiful, I lied. Yes, well. She stepped closer, adjusting my collar. We all have our roles to play, don't we? Some of us just forget our lines sometimes. Later, I found Natasha hiding in the library. Damon knows, she whispered. He found evidence of copied files on his computer. They're moving everything tonight. Let them, I said, showing her my phone. Warner's message glowed. Teams in position. Tomorrow night, 9:17 p.m. Don't leave early. What if something goes wrong? I thought about the wire recordings, the documents, the years of evidence. Then we burn with them. My phone buzzed one final time. Rosalie, darling, do come to breakfast early tomorrow. Charles insists on a family meeting before the party. I looked at Natasha, saw my own fear reflected in her eyes. One more day, I said. Just one more day of pretending. She squeezed my hand. The best performances always come right before the curtain falls. Outside, the garden lights flickered on, illuminating the party setup. Tomorrow, this place would become a battlefield, and I'd finally show them exactly what their decorative wife could do. The anniversary party transformed Risegate Manor into a glittering fantasy. Crystal chandeliers dripped light onto masked faces, champagne flowed like water, and classical music drifted through the air. A perfect setting for the perfect takedown. You look ravishing, Rosalie said, adjusting my red dress. Though perhaps a touch too bold for a family gathering. You chose it, remember? Her fingers lingered on my shoulder. Yes, I suppose I did. 9:03 p.m. 14 minutes to go. Charles commanded the room's center, regaling the Singapore investors with tales of his financial genius. The real trick is keeping it all in the family, he boomed. Isn't that right, Cynthia? I raised my champagne glass. You've certainly taught me a lot about family, Charles. Damon appeared at my elbow, his grip too tight as he steered me toward a quiet corner. We need to talk about those missing files. Now? During the party? Don't play innocent, he hissed. I know you've been... The music swelled, cutting him off as Rosalie clinked her glass. Time for the anniversary toast. 9:12 p.m. 5 minutes. Charles raised his glass. To 30 years of success, family and Creative accounting. Polite laughter rippled through the crowd. And to new beginnings, Rosalie added, her eyes locked on mine. Some chapters must end for others to start. 9:15 p.m. 2 minutes. Ishmael found me by the French doors. We need to leave, now. What? Father's been warning me for weeks. Something's coming. Please, just trust me. Like you trusted me? I stepped back. When you let them put accounts in my name? 9:16 p.m. 1 minute. Natasha appeared, face pale behind her mask. Damon's shredding documents in the study. Let him. I checked my phone. It's too late anyway. The grandfather clock struck 9:15. Exactly at 9:17 p.m., the music died. Glass shattered somewhere as the French doors burst open. Men in FBI jackets swarmed the room. Federal agents, nobody move! Charles dropped his glass. What is the meaning of... Charles Ellis. Warner stepped forward, badge raised. You're under arrest for securities fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. Rosalie's scream cut through the chaos. This is ridiculous. We are respected members of... Ma'am, we have evidence of over 50 million in fraudulent transactions, Warner continued, including accounts opened under false identities. Damon bolted for the study. 2 agents tackled him on the marble floor. The documents, he shouted. In my office? Already seized, Warner smiled, along with some very interesting offshore accounts. I watched Ishmael's face as realization dawned. You, he whispered. It was you all along. You knew what they were doing, I said quietly. You knew they were setting me up to take the fall. I tried to protect you. No. I stepped back as agents moved between us. You tried to protect them. Across the room, Rosalie was being handcuffed, her perfect makeup streaked with tears. You? She spat when she saw me. The charity case? The nobody from nowhere? The nobody with a degree in forensic accounting, I corrected. The nobody you put accounts in my name to frame. Charles struggled against his restraints. Everything I did was for this family. Including making me your scapegoat? Natasha appeared beside me, holding her children's hands. It's over, she whispered. Really over, Damon thrashed as agents led him past. You'll regret this, both of you. No, Natasha said firmly. We won't. The party dissolved into chaos. Guests fled, jewelry glinting as they rushed past FBI evidence teams. Somewhere, a photographer's flash captured Rosalie's mascara-streaked face for tomorrow's papers. Yael emerged from the shadows, nodding once. She'd been coordinating with Warner's team all along. Ms. Ellis, Warner approached, we'll need your formal statement. Of course. I watched as agents led my husband away. He didn't look back. You did the right thing. Yael squeezed my shoulder. They would have sacrificed you without blinking. In Charles's study, agents were boxing up evidence. The same room where he'd bragged about untraceable transfers, where he'd thought I was too stupid to understand. Cynthia, Rosalie's voice, one last time as they led her out. We gave you everything. No, I said, touching my degree through my clutch. I earned everything. You just taught me exactly how to take you down. The red dress felt lighter now as I walked through the ruined party. Crystal glasses crunched under FBI boots. The perfect facade was finally shattered. Outside, camera flashes lit up the night. Tomorrow, everyone would know how the mighty Ellis-Harrison empire fell, and how the decorative wife brought it all crashing down. The courtroom fell silent as I took the stand. Charles, Rosalie, and Damon sat in matching prison jumpsuits, their designer masks finally stripped away. Please state your name for the record. Cynthia Ramos. I dropped Ellis the day after the raid, former daughter-in-law to the defendants. And how did you discover the fraud? I met Charles's eyes. They taught me everything I needed to know. Every Sunday dinner, Every condescending lecture about family business. They just never thought I was smart enough to understand. The prosecutor held up documents. These accounts were opened in your name without your knowledge. Yes, they planned to use me as their fall person if they were ever caught. Objection! Charles's lawyer jumped up. Speculation! Overruled. The judge leaned forward. Continue, Ms. Ramos. I detailed everything. The offshore accounts, the forged signatures, the backdated sales, the way they'd laundered millions through shell companies while mocking my online degree. Rosalie's perfect mask finally cracked. You ungrateful little... Order! The judge's gavel crashed down. During the recess, Natasha found me in the hallway. She'd been granted immunity for her cooperation. Damon's lawyers offered a plea deal, she said. He's going to testify against his parents. Of course he is. I watched Ishmael hurry past, avoiding my eyes. He'd been charged as an accessory but made his own deal. Some family loyalty. Back inside, Warner took the stand, presenting evidence from the raid. The defendants maintained over 30 fraudulent accounts, including several under Ms. Ramos's identity. And the total amount? The prosecutor asked. Over $200 million in fraudulent transfers. Charles slumped in his chair, his empire of lies reduced to numbers in a court record. The verdict came down like thunder, guilty on all counts. Charles and Rosalie faced 20 years. Damon got 12. Asset forfeiture would take everything they'd stolen. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Ms. Ramos, how does it feel to bring down one of the country's most prestigious families? They brought themselves down, I said. I just showed everyone what was hiding behind their perfect facade. That evening, I met Yael and Warner at our usual cafe. The whistleblower reward came through, Warner said, sliding over an envelope. 30% of recovered assets. You'll never have to work again. I pushed it back. Donate it to fraud victim support. I've got something better. I showed them my phone. Job offers from 3 major forensic accounting firms. They want me to lead their fraud investigation units. I smiled. Turns out my little hobby is in high demand. Speaking of demands, Yael grinned. Have you seen today's papers? The headline read, Ellis Harrison Empire Falls, How an Underestimated Wife Exposed the Truth. My phone buzzed. A text from Ishmael. I'm sorry for everything. I should have chosen you. I deleted it without responding. Some choices can't be unmade. Natasha called next. The kids are asking about their trust funds. Tell them their mother saved them from being accessories to fraud. That's worth more than money. Later, I drove to my new lakeside house, bought with my own money, in my own name. My diploma hung above my desk, next to the court verdict summary. A final text came through from an unknown number. You did good, kid. RF. Riley. The intern who'd started it all with that first anonymous tip. I looked out at the water, remembering all those Sunday dinners, all those subtle jabs and condescending smiles. Every time they dismissed me as just a pretty ornament for their perfect family portrait. The sun set over the lake, painting the water gold. Tomorrow, I'd start my new job, helping other whistleblowers find their voice. But tonight, I raised a glass of their favorite Bordeaux, rescued from the manor's wine cellar before the asset seizure. To creative accounting, I toasted the empty room, echoing Charles's last party speech. And to the decorative wife who learned all your tricks. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Warner. New case coming in. Big tech company. Similar fraud pattern. Interested? I smiled, thinking of all those nights studying while they thought I was just playing around. Of every patronizing comment that pushed me to learn more. Always, I replied. Send me the files. They'd built their empire on lies and arrogance. never suspecting that their greatest threat was sitting right at their dinner table, taking notes. Their perfect world had shattered. And from the pieces, I'd built something better, the truth.